Hello, everyone, and welcome to Random Number Generation. This is episode 53, Final Fantasy I Pixel Remaster Randomizer with Leggy Starscream. So before we get started, folks, remember, if you are watching on YouTube, hi YouTube, how are y'all doing? Feel free to join us over twitch.tv/GamesDoneQuick to check out our live shows starting most nights at 7 p.m. Eastern. And while you're there, Hotfix is funded in part and thanks to your subscription and bits. Please consider subscribing to help support future broadcasts. And with that, I am joined by Leggy Starscream, Demerin, and Game Boy F9. How are y'all doing?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm excited to have the Pixel Remaster. So all week I was letting folks know on my stream about this show, and they're like, oh my goodness, there is a Pixel Remastered randomizer to this. And I'm like, yeah, I've never seen it before, but I'm really looking forward to it.
To be fair, that's because, how many minutes ago did we release it?
Let's see. According to GitHub, 14 minutes ago.
Yeah, so a number of us, including all three of us in voice here, also, we have Sealy Faye, we have Raspberry Hime, and gosh, so many other people, but just been working on this for basically since the tools to do mods for Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster games came out. All of us are fans of prior Final Fantasy I randomizer works, and we decided that we wanted to use our expertise and excitement to work on this.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's been a lot of work's been done on it. We're gonna show you a little bit of it in just a moment.
All right, so before we get started here, why don't y'all talk about what the standard flag set is? I know there's a lot of folks who also watch on YouTube. They see some of my shows and they're like, Sky, what is exactly randomized? So let's give a good overview here at the beginning.
Well,
yeah.
The major collections of things that are randomized at this point in time is it's a key item shuffle. So the items that allow you to progress through the plot of Final Fantasy I, and this includes the 4 orbs from the 4 Fiends of the Elements, are all shuffled into the pool of the locations of where key items normally are. So you may have to go and kill Lich to get the chime to open up Mirage Tower. You may need to go and give the crown back to Astos to get the key directly rather than having to go through the rest of the fetch quest. Who knows what might possibly happen. The floater could be in the middle of nowhere for all that we know, which has happened before, and there's a reason why the estimate's 215. Having an airship makes the game a lot faster. Otherwise, I'm not quite sure. What's been randomized in terms of shops, everybody?
So shops and treasures are shuffled, meaning that we take all the items in the shops, put them all in a blender, and throw all the weapons back into weapons, throw all the items back into the items. Pixel Remaster in particular has all of its item shops with the same inventory all across the map. So we reduced the total number of various items just to actually provide variation between the different item shops. Additionally, there's a XP and Gil boost. It's going to be doubled because who likes grinding, really? Some items will have their prices rebalanced to just add a little bit of balance. But on the magic side, the different spells are going to be shuffled across the different levels. Corneria is still going to have all the level 1 magic. Provoke is still going to have all the level 2. But which spells are there are going to be different. They're going to cost the same amount. They're going to be at the appropriate spell level, but they're still going to do the full effect. If we get Flare at level 1, it's still going to be Flare.
Yeah, and go ahead, Devery.
Go ahead.
Oh, I guess I'm talking.
You're good. Keep going.
Oh, geez, what was I gonna say now? Oh yeah, so randomizing the spells was definitely one of the easier things to randomize in this randomizer, and whereas compared to like the PSP version, for example, which I did a randomizer of, or the GBA version, I think the GBA version had a similar. It was really hard to. Actually, I never did it for the PSP version to randomize it the way you're gonna see it in this run, and you'll see that in the first couple minutes of the run here.
Yeah, GBA had a few issues, not with the spell shops, but with specifically the caravan shop. We could not access either of those to move them around. And on that note, while we do randomize most of the key items, there are a few that are still put in place due to various reasons and time constraints on actually diving in. The one final major thing of note is that not all of the treasures that were initially in the treasure boxes are shuffled around. We took out all the ribbons, and now every time you defeat one of the 4 elemental fiend dungeons, when you defeat that fiend, they will 100% of the time drop a ribbon for your light warriors to wear.
Yeah, and it definitely gives incentive to defeat those fiends, because they are the toughest bosses in, well, just the game, period. Right? So, I mean, not as bad as the end of the game, but they're still pretty tough.
I know, and the big thing I think about is sort of the concepts of competitive balance and tension, and we can talk about that later because we've got a little while to go yet.
Yeah, and speaking of things, I'm the one here who's most familiar with the vanilla speedrun for this game, which is kind of why I've picked a party that might look familiar to a lot of vanilla speedrunners. I'm not going with the fastest party in the world. I'm grabbing the white mage as opposed to the pair of black mages that the world record for the speedrun does, because, I don't know, level 1 holy is nice, really good healing magic early is nice. And it's just a good little bit of safety for the randos. So I'm ready to go. How about y'all?
Yes, very much so.
Yep, I'm ready. Let's rock.
Yeah, I can't disagree with Sky on this one.
Yeah. On your account, Leggy.
Demi, you want to take us in?
Or Demi, yes.
All right, yeah, we will start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good luck and have fun.
So you see us different straight away. You're just sent straight to the world map. We don't do any of this cutscene business. We're just like, yeah, that takes 55,000 minutes. So we'll skip all that and we'll just go straight to the weapons store. We didn't see much there. How about Kira's not. Oh, Hilar is much better. Invisra, she'll take that. And now we're gonna check the Black Magic store, and we will pick up. Oh, we'll definitely pick up Thundaga and Quake. That's for sure. Thundaga deals a lot of damage to all monsters, and Quake just says, you know what? You can just fall down the deep ravine. Oh wait, that's a different Final Fantasy. Sorry.
Look at this menuing. This menuing already is so fast.
I mean, the menus in Pixel Remaster are already pretty quick. Thankfully, they've been kind of retuned for this. But yeah, Leggy speedruns this game. She's gonna show off why she speedruns this game and what she can do.
I've rated you enough times.
Oh, I know that, but I'm saying, like, it never ceases to surprise me to just see really fast menuing. Folks underestimate how tough it is to do fast menuing, and it never gets old to me. It's so awesome.
Yeah, so when we get into combat, we see one of the most interesting changes between Pixel Remaster and basically any other version of FF1, which is the auto battle system.
Yeah, auto battle is a thing that was started, interestingly enough, I believe with PSP Final Fantasy IV. But it's the idea that you can just have the game remember your commands that you've put in, and once those commands have been memorized, by tapping one button, you will execute them turn after turn after turn. The other thing this does is it actually speeds up battle animations by a fair amount, so if you want to go fast, it can be a helpful way to go fast.
Yeah, it's a 1.5 times battle speed.
Yeah, so Leggy here is doing a what I would call a safety valve, so to speak. So if everybody fails to flee, then the monsters will get penalized by a Thondaga, which and that would be levels for Leggy as well.
I was just talking in chat about how beautiful the remaster music is as well.
Yeah, no. The remaster soundtracks for just every single Pixel remaster that's come out are gorgeous. Like, I will say, if you're a fan of Final Fantasy, even if you don't want to buy the games because you already own 30 different copies of all of them, buy the soundtracks.
Yeah, I totally will agree with that. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite covers is coming up. Well, I hope it'll be coming up. We'll see if we get to those locations. But yeah, I mean, we've had 5 Pixel remasters, and one of my favorite covers is in this one. So stay tuned.
Yeah, my sleeper pick for favorite song on the soundtrack is the shop music.
Yeah, and you can see there's the randomized Star Ruby. Normally you would get the bridge, and a canal was built in your honor. Yeah. Oh, that's it. Well, that's new text. I like that.
Yeah.
Sarah still has the old text attached of, saying that she's giving you the loot. So there's some tuning up that is definitely in the works as well. Also, things that aren't randomized, of course, are things like prices haven't been randomized yet. The big thing is that for anybody who wants to code a randomizer, I mean, Pixel Remaster is probably one of the easier ones to get into. It's JSON files. It's a little bit less complicated than, say, Final Fantasy 1 NES, which is a little bit.
How do you like assembly?
How do you feel about 6502, everybody? It's a good language. It's a lot. But the whole idea is that whenever you decide to change something in a randomizer, you have to be fairly careful about making sure that it doesn't actually ding up your code base. So it's always important that you make sure you have a team, or at least people are willing to test your code. That's what's been going on for the last little while. So we have a stable build here to put on for everybody.
So I have a question for Leggy. What has been the most different thing between speedrunning, we'll call it, the Final Fantasy, the regular versus the Pixel Remaster? Is there any noticeable difference to you? We were talking about the menuing earlier, but anything else?
Yeah, so I have mostly speedran the GBA and PSP versions. I've played a lot of the NES randomizer, but I've not done much with the speedrun there. And honestly, the auto battle changes a lot. The other big thing that you get in Pixel Remaster is, well, we'll see if it comes up, but pay attention to what happens if someone gets petrified.
In the meantime, we're gonna have a little conversation with these pirates, and when I say a little, I mean a little.
Oh.
Normally you don't have AoE magic at this point in the game, and so the pirates fight can be a little frustrating and time-consuming. But in this case, you can just break them with lightning.
This is another scene that I've sped up. Is just said, okay, you're all defeated. Goodbye. Let's just skip that. Let's just get rid of that.
Keep that underway. We do have the canal already, so there is a rationale for running over and turning into Star Ruby right away.
Wait, can we go to Earth Cave?
We can go to Earth Cave. We don't have an Earth Rod yet.
But Earth Cave.
Well,
But
somebody really likes the Earth Cave.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I don't know who that is, but somebody likes the Earth Cave.
Old speedrun habits die hard. Gonna take the in here as opposed to using the white magic.
I mean, part of why I'm here is just that I've I played Final Fantasy 1 NES Randomizer fairly competitively, and the running joke is that I will win or lose by going into Earthcave first and taking that risk if the flags allow for it.
Not that much. I'm gonna at least check the magic shops here at level 3. If I find teleport, I might go into Marsh Cave.
Or the exit spell, but didn't look like. Oh, there was Curaja though, which is a full
we'll take
cure
that.
for a member.
I have a fun question from chat. I really like this one. Out of the first 5, I assume first 5 Final Fantasies, which would you say has the best story, writing, and characters?
Oh.
4.
Yeah, I think it's 4. 5 is good, but in that it can just be played in so many ways, but that's not the question. The question is what has the best story, and I think that's 4.
Yeah, there's a reason that, when people talk about what Final Fantasy is the best, the debate is always 6, 7, 14, or 4.
Hey, 10 gets some play in that argument.
Yeah. The third entry is rather new, though.
Well, I haven't played. I played Final Fantasy VII once, never played it again, and I played Final Fantasy IX for a couple hours, Final Fantasy VIII for an hour. So pretty much the only. So that pretty much eliminates everybody except 4 and 6.
Yeah, but have you heard the critically acclaimed MMO RPG Final Fantasy XIV?
No.
I'm a big fan of the unpopular and underrated Final Fantasy XII, The Zodiac Age.
That's also a solid pick.
Oh, I love that game so much.
But yeah, we are going to turn in the Star Ruby. So this is a turn-in that you can skip if you get the airship early, but we don't have the airship, so instead we're going to go and, the Titan will walk off screen and we'll walk over and see Sarda, much like in the vanilla game, and normally you get the rod here, but we might get something else probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we're poisoned. I do not have any antidotes. That's going to be exciting.
Well, the good news here is that the poison sound is far less annoying in this version than in, say, the NES version.
True.
It appears we do have some Final Fantasy XIV players in chat right now that you mentioned how critically acclaimed it is, lady.
Look, I'm still crying over Ed Walker. Don't at me.
No!
I mean, we can't say with a free trial right now, though, because they've disabled free trials for the moment.
This was one of the challenges we had to get through. I think we had to deal with this challenge, as Leggy picks up the Earth Crystal. I think we had to get around this, the sage blocking. It's like, oh, you didn't actually go through this. I don't remember that exactly, but I wouldn't be surprised.
So there are a few key items that have not been moved from their original location. One of them is the canoe at the Circle of Sages, which requires you to defeat Lich and restore the power of Earth. Or in this version, just restore the power of Earth. But now we can go get our canoe.
Yes.
Full life is an antidote spell, don't at me.
I wasn't planning on it. So yeah, the canoe cannot be awarded until you pick up the Earth Crystal. That is just a rule we decided to set up in that regard. But one of the challenges is this mnemonic, that's what they call it, of syscalls. And one of the syscalls is gaining the canoe. And so it really makes the shuffling of the key items substantially more difficult to redo the canoe flag. So that's why we are currently keeping it at Crescent Lake.
Yeah, that said, it does have an interesting unintended consequence of providing like a few different tiers to your exploration. Like initially, you are constrained to the area you can reach using only the ship until you find the canal. Once you find the canal, you have to find the power of Earth to get your canoe, and once you have your canoe, regardless of whether or not you found the floater yet, you can't get airborne until you get that canoe.
Yeah, there was a comment in chat about how I think you saw I want to say Kiraja because I've been playing Final Fantasy 12. Kiraga was already available this early. And I'm like, yeah, that's the way Randomizer works.
Yeah. Rando get a rando.
Yeah, I mean, we have level 6 Thundara, we have level 8 Full Life, we have level 7 Kiraja right now, so except they're not in those slots because of the randomization.
Yeah.
One of those things that sort of every Final Fantasy randomizer has done is that it's randomized the spells, and the thing is that we consider kind of your options in terms of randomization. It's things that it's when you think about it, it could potentially add tension, but it also could potentially reduce your tension because Thundaga real early on. Like getting a level 3 sweep spell really early on makes the early game a lot easier. But it could be possible that a lot of your AoE magic is gated even deeper than it is normally. And so there's always that consideration of, does this change make the game more or less difficult and also more or less interesting? It's cool when you can cast level 3 spells early on. It feels good. So even though it makes the game easier, it's still interesting.
Yeah, and it also radically changes how you approach things compared to Seeds, where you don't necessarily get really good magic early. Like, I'm gonna go poke my nose into the volcano because I've got tools such that I feel confident in my ability to get in, get what I want, and get out.
Yeah, opening boxes, at least in the early-ish mid-game, is kind of your best option for making money. Money from enemies goes up pretty precipitously in the late game, but for now, when we're kind of working on a shoestring budget, items are expensive in this game, like Phoenix Counter 1500, so it's a little rough to have to use items on the road a lot of the time.
Yeah, and the most notable item price rebalance that is implemented in the randomizer is that ethers now cost 1,000 gil a pop.
Yeah, ethers are like literally the backbone of the speedrun.
Yeah. Every single Final Fantasy 1 speedrun that features ethers buys 99 of them at some point.
Yeah, ethers in this game work a little bit differently. Be like, wait, you've got spell charges now. Wait, do ethers actually work? And it's like, they sure do, friend. What they end up doing is that they reload 1 point of each spell, or 1 spell charge of each level that you have. So rather than being like a certain amount of mana, it's just a refill of a little bit of everything.
Which does actually mean that, especially early on when the number of ethers you can have in your back pocket is limited, you do want to consider, okay, how do I spread out which levels of spell I cast so that I get the biggest amount of value out of my ethers possible.
So one of the other interesting things, this is a pixel remaster thing, which actually changes the way, it honestly changes the way that Final Fantasy works. Is that you can see that there's a sprite on the screen, and opening these 2 boxes have given us lava worm encounters. In vanilla and in every other version other than this one, what ends up happening is that there are no monsters in boxes. The encounters are on tiles, and you can walk on the tile repeatedly to take an encounter over and over again. Pixel Remasters will let you do that. You can see that if you talk to that sprite up there, you'll fight a fire elemental like you would in vanilla by stepping on that tile. But then it's gone, and you can only fight it once. So, you know that grinding thing that people on occasion like to do in Final Fantasy randomizers? It's a little harder to do when you can't walk back and forth on a tile and get an encounter over it.
Yeah, and let's face it, the grind is an integral part of most of the other Final Fantasy 1 speedruns, you know. NES likes to take the Agama tile down at the bottom of the volcano. GBA and PSP go and have fun grinding on the Evil Eye in the ice cave. You really can't do that in this version. So you'll see me taking a lot of encounters as I go. And that's also kind of why I cranked up the XP a little.
So another thing you may have noticed is that as soon as Leggy leaves the lava, she will instantly get into a battle. It is one of the very interesting things that's different between that and like virtually any other version out there is that, and now it's still true that if you step in lava, you don't get an encounter, but the step counter still increases. So as soon as you leave the lava, boom, you get a battle. Whereas like in the NES version, if you're in lava, the step counter does not increase and you don't get battles. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's an interesting change there.
Yeah, there's a lot of changes and little quirks of this particular version as a Final Fantasy 1 game compared to a lot of other versions. And a lot of them can be explained as the developers trying to fit 6 very different JRPGs into the same fundamental engine.
So there was a question earlier about cross-game randomization being possible with the Pixel Remasters. What do y'all think about that? Is that a thing you would want? And if so, do you think there's a world where it could logistically be done?
One, yes. 2, yes. I want it. I have looked at it briefly. It is actually quite doable with the way that the games are set up. There are actually assets from other games baked into the different Pixel Remaster games. So hypothetically, with enough time and effort, one could probably write a randomizer that randomizes across all 6 games that only requires you to have 1 copy of one without pulling any external assets.
I mean, as a non-coder / game interest competitive balance person, like the big thing is that would it make an interesting game? And the answer is distinctly maybe. I think the big thing is that kind of understanding how one works and getting a lot of polish on it. Because if you look at what currently exists as the Final Fantasy IV randomizers, it was developed by, I don't know, I heard it was developed by a Game Boy F9? The concept of the full gauntlet randomizer is like a lot different. Rather than being an open world randomizer, it's closer to like a ancient cave style or cave dive, like the first Secret of Mana randomizer, where you're basically fighting long strings of enemy encounters at the end of each section of the game. And while things are randomized like party members and your party and the items, there's no open world aspect. You're on a rail. So a lot of it is, do these things mesh at the end of the day?
But also, there's room to take, like, okay, how do we take the concept of blending, a number of different existent games together into something that is actually fun and interesting to play? And I think that's kind of an interesting question that we've only really seen answered with, like, SMZ3R and randomizers along those lines.
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting puzzle from both the coding side and from a cross-compatibility playability side. Again, it's something that a lot of people would want, but also it's something that would be very difficult to do from a gameplay standpoint if the code bases aren't doing similar things with the open world aspect. You know, if we wanted to do this Final Fantasy IV, I'm sure that we could crib some stuff from Free Enterprise and how Free Enterprise works to make something like that work. Because obviously they do the open world thing best. I'm not biased. I promise. I'm only an admin over there. I've only been helping run the show for a couple of years for the Free Enterprise team. But you know, 6 of 1, I guess.
Yeah. Well, before we get before we elaborate further, I alluded to one of my favorite covers of tunes. This is it. This is it. When I entered the Western Keep, when I was playing vanilla the first time, I was like, I don't want to leave this place. After I defeated Astos, I did not want to leave that place. The music was just so elegant, and I loved it. Oh.
This is beautiful. I have no other way to explain this music in particular. It's just gorgeous.
Also, for anybody familiar with Final Fantasy I Vanilla, the teleporter maze is not yet randomized. The consideration of making this map a different way every time, I don't know if that's even been looked into yet.
Yeah, I know that some map edits are possible. There's a tool that is out there specifically for editing the maps in Pixel Remaster games, but it has not been something we've had the time to look into yet, rather than the desire.
Yeah, I think now don't quote me on this, but I think randomizing the teleporter maze should be pretty doable. Because I think it's a matter of
Well,
I'm guessing there's a lot of scenario files. I'm gonna be a little bit technical here. There are a bunch of scenario files. They're in JSON, and there are these mnemonics where you can just say, oh, I'm gonna just change the transfer point from this spot to this spot. So I'm thinking it's possible, but I haven't seen what happens, and you just notice that the sorcerers are still jerks.
Yeah, we haven't done anything to the monsters themselves yet. Namely because, like, finding what we want to do with them to be both interesting but also, you know, distinct from, say, the NES randomizer is an interesting question, especially with these sorts of tools you have in this game for avoiding encounters that you don't there. You know, we have an autosave that happens every single time we change floors. We have a quick save feature. And we'll have to do some playing around and asking of how do those interact with, say, you know, shuffling around all the different abilities that the different monsters get to use, or randomizing their stats.
It means we can make everything a lot more dangerous.
Yep. And like
because that's how you create tension, right? If the threat of failure is pretty low if you autosave every floor. So you need to fail a lot for it to feel impactful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but also figuring out how to balance, okay, we want there to be tension and threat with where is the line between dangerous and unfun, which is always a really well, dangerous, unfun, and tedious are the, you know, pain points, because there's plenty of ways to increase difficulty in RPGs that just make the game into a slog or a grind fest.
That's what the flags are for, though, right? So, for example, this is the standard flag set. I'm sure there's some other flag set that makes this game way more ridiculous than what is currently being played right now, right? Some kind of wild flag set?
Not yet. That potentially to come, but we wanted to focus our development efforts for this showcase on building something that was a strong fundamental core.
A lot of these things are things which we most certainly want to do, though.
Yeah.
Like shop price randomization, we definitely want more options for randomization on treasure chests. We want that. There's a lot of enemy randomization stat variance is a thing that we certainly want, because again that's interesting. A lot of those things are really fun. It fits with kind of the core ethos of the game. Randomizing enemy abilities is important. And randomizing enemy abilities actually is even more important in Pixel Remaster, because one of the interesting changes, this is another change that makes this completely different than any other version, is that whenever you fight an enemy with spells or abilities, instead of the spells being in a list that it pulls from in order, so for example, if we were to fight Lich right now, which we can't, but if we were, in vanilla, Lich's first turn, if Lich casts a spell, it's Blizzara 100% of the time. It is assured. You can get nothing else. Lich knows other spells. Lich knows Slow, Lich knows Haste, Lich knows Spyra. But that order is now completely random. It can just pull any spell out of its spell book that it wants.
Also love gentle teasing, but I do appreciate how you call older versions of Final Fantasy I vanilla. The randomized spell order is something that was introduced in Pixel Remaster, and it's definitely a quirk of trying to fit the 6 different ways that enemy AI was structured across the 6 different Final Fantasies into one system.
Yeah, the older versions are vanilla, don't at me.
I will not.
Oh my gosh.
All right, now that I'm done making grumpy faces, hey, here's Marsh Cave.
Hey, everybody's
Marsh Cave.
favorite. Go ahead, Doreen. Sorry.
Yeah, Marsh Cave is like the first dungeon in the normal game that you go into. Enemies are fairly easy. But they do hit decently hard. And the big thing is, though, is that basically at this point in time, with the set of supplies we have, we're going to probably go down and beeline the crown chest, which may or may not have the crown, which definitely has Pisco Demons in it, but it has a very specific number of them.
Yeah. In previous versions of Final Fantasy I, it was always 2 to 4, but Pixel Remaster took a lot of the spike tile monster encounters that are now monsters in a box, or the sprites on the overworld, and made them a fixed number of enemies, so you'll always have the same fight every single time. Which is annoying, because I'd always love to be able to low roll on Pisco Demons and only get 2.
Yeah, and I can explain that due to what Demarine alluded to earlier with that Bull Gauntlet that I wrote. It's because it's just the way the CSV, the comma separated values file works. It's like, here are these 9 monster slots. You can have anywhere from 1 to 9 monsters, and it's like this monster, or this slot will have this monster, this slot will have this monster, this slot will have this monster, and there is no variation to that at all. So that's why you're stuck with 4 Pisco Demons that you see on your screen right now.
So each individual fight you see with a different number of enemies counts as what older Final Fantasies would call a different formation.
Mm-hmm.
So, seeing a fight with 2 wolves is a completely different formation than a fight with 3 wolves.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating.
Yep.
Anyway, we pulled a bottle of Sprite out of the Marsh Cave, so now we can breathe underwater.
Are there any other good fun memes like that in this game? I feel like I'm missing a lot right now, but I'm getting snippets of them as y'all are talking.
Well, I feel like we haven't really been leaning too heavily on, memes.
I like the bottle of Sprite, that's great.
I mean, it is a rock that constantly produces air, so, gotta have fun with it.
I mean, as someone who can call herself a commentary expert as well at this point in time, leaning on memes too hard can be hackneyed and make people feel like they're not included, which is not always great.
But there's always a meme when you see a red dragon, and so if we see a red dragon, we will have to bring out that meme.
the great meme crossover.
Yep.
Anyway, it is now time to go to Ice Cave, which is definitely my favorite cave. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
We're gonna get one shot by sorcerers again.
Always.
Is that in the rule book? Is that in the rule book for this
Yeah.
randomizer?
It's right there next to dogs can play basketball. Thank you very much.
Ah, okay. I'll look it up after the show.
But yeah, the aforementioned Ice Cave, normal grind spot for multiple versions of this game. Home of some of the first enemies in the game that AoE you with impunity. You can run across wolves who know an AoE frost ability. There will be wizards in here who can cast Pyraga. They're great. They're wonderful.
They totally didn't wipe me multiple times in a row when I was doing a practice seed last night.
Gonna write that down right now. Dark Wizards totally wiped out Leggy Starscream during her practice. Got it. Written down.
Also, one of the other things that I really wish that we could change is that what Pixel Remaster has taken away is the concept of unrunnable encounters. In every other version of Final Fantasy, what ends up happening is that there's a table of encounters that you are allowed to run from, and the rest of them you're not, which is fun, and you have to fight everything. You notice that we are queuing up runs on White Dragons, and if you know the list from the original Final Fantasy for the NES, you know that White Dragons aren't runnable. But we're gonna do it anyway.
Yeah, you can change that. You can change that. Same file I alluded to with the formations. That's in the formations file. So we'll add that to the list of things we need to do.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna put down Demi's encounter wish list, and that's what we'll do because you know I have only good opinions, and I've never had a bad idea for a randomizer before.
Again, I believe you.
Yep, same here.
Yeah.
Debbie in the background, like, haha, got him.
Well, I tell you what, Leggy, you got all those undead right there. That's for sure.
Yeah. It turns out AoE magic good.
Yeah, especially against undead, and because the monster's abilities aren't quite randomized yet, they still paralyze you for, well, ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, paralysis, the single worst status effect in Final Fantasy 1. And by worst, I mean... just, I have so many feelings about getting stun-locked by enemies. None of them are good.
Oh, right. That's right. The encounters that you encounter in boxes and as sprites on the overworld are unrunnables.
Yeah.
But that's it.
So, I think the play would just be to, you know, go in and edit the proper formations in... Oh, I'm out of Fyras. Just edit the proper formations to have that particular flag set.
I think the big thing would be that having the randomization change formations on the fly to some degree would be really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yep, there's the Thundaga.
But no, that's not Firaga, but we already went over this, that the spell lists are now randomized, is the random order of execution. So you may not know in the vanilla game that they know Thundaga, because by the time you get to Thundaga normally, they've absolutely obliterated your party.
We have a...
Well,
Oh, sorry, bud.
no, after you.
All I was going to say is, we do have a question from the chat. I don't exactly know the answer for, but I'm curious if any of y'all do. How many remakes are there for this game?
So, that's an interesting question, because there have been a whole bunch. Obviously, to start off, you have the NES version, then you have the Wonder Swan version, you have GBA and PSP as, well-known versions of this game. You have this version.
PS1.
PS1. I think there was an old phone port.
Yep, there was a mobile phone port. The PSP was the 20, right? In order, I actually pulled up the list because I don't remember them all. There's a lot of them. There's 15, in fact.
Hey,
right?
Jen?
Yes.
I just need to point out what I pulled out of that box.
It's a Masamune! Go team, the best sword in the game. It's got like 62 attack power and a very high hit rate, and it crits a lot. It does everything. It does everything you could want and more. Cool. Just to kind of go over the 15 versions that exist. The original NES Famicom version. There was a version made for the MSX. You could talk to Tina Hex about that one. The NES version is considered separate. There is a remake for the Famicom in Japan of just 1 and 2 together on the same cartridge. Wonder Swan Color, PlayStation 1, GBA, first mobile phone port. PlayStation Portable was the 20th anniversary version. I know because I got it for Christmas when it came out. There is a Wii Virtual Console version. There was a version that was on the PlayStation Network that was slightly different than the PS1 version that helped the load times ever so slightly. There was a second phone re-release. There was a 3DS version. There is a version that's on the NES Classic that's a retuning of the original, but it is considered to be different than the original. And then there's the Pixel Remaster.
So yeah, there's a lot.
Final Fantasy came out, in the States it was 87. So you figure for a game that's been around for about 34 years, looking at a release every 2.5 years of the original Final Fantasy.
All I could say is, gotta catch them all.
I think at this point my options are either kill Carrie or kill the vampire. And not too happy about either. Let me just double check my items to make sure I didn't miss anything. Yep, no, I can't get to Fiend Dungeons without the airship. So yeah, vampire or Carrie in one of these might not involve backtracking.
Yeah, so if you've never seen Final Fantasy before, Leggy alluded to defeating the vampire, and you really want to have something called the Earth Rod, so you can proceed further to defeat Lich. But she doesn't have that, so she would have to defeat the vampire. If she happens to pick up the Earth Rod, she can continue forward and defeat Lich, but that is not likely, so her alternative is to go to Marilith, or Carrie, as in the original, and now, which is a very difficult boss, but as we mentioned at the top of the show, if you do defeat Marilith, you will win a ribbon for free.
Yeah, I'm a Final Fantasy I boomer. I keep referring to things by their original NES names.
We've been playing this game for far too long. But yeah, the big thing, and this is actually getting back to this concept of tension, right, is that what makes a randomizer, especially when you're thinking about a randomizer in a competitive sense, which honestly, when a lot of randomizers get created, they get created with this idea that a competitive scene is a good thing to have, and I tend to agree with that. But the idea that ribbons aren't in boxes anymore, but you may not have to fight the fiends, can create a lot of tension within the game itself. Because now if you're like in go mode, but you have no ribbons, ribbons are really important because they give you protection from all elements, which means you can't get insta-killed, and spells do half damage all of a sudden, even though they have no armor. It ends up being super useful. And so the idea is you have to decide, are they super useful enough for me to go and run through what we're going through right now? Look at this random encounter that we're not killing, to get to the bottom of any given dungeon to go and fight the fiend there.
Yeah, and it is worth noting that one final note about the key items in this game: you get 2 for free at the start. You get the ship, as you may have seen, and you get the bridge. So that means there are 2 blank rewards in the pool, where you just get nothing. So for all I know, going down and fighting Carrie could be one of these whammies where I just don't get anything, but I'm still going to get that ribbon. And honestly, at this point, this early on, I want at least 2 or 3 by the end game. So I am okay with taking that gamble.
Yeah, one thing that has not changed, Leggy should have gotten an encounter, like the very next step of the floor she currently was at, but the encounter rate resets when you change floors. There's our friend, the Red Dragon, also known throughout many communities, well, at least many communities that I happen to be in, it seems, as the Fun Police. Because usually when they show up, the fun the fun becomes very challenging.
Fun's usually over at that point, sadly. Free Enterprise tends to avoid Red Dragons, and in this, they do have an AoE. They do have AoE Blaze, which is a pain, and they're still pretty dangerous, and their defense is pretty good. So overall, they're nuisances.
I mean, same though. I did not know that Ogre Mages knew Blizzara.
Yeah, they sure do.
Clearly.
It's way back in their spell list, though, like, because their spell list starts with what? It's haste, invis, protect. It's a bunch of defensive, and it's a bunch of setup spells, which when you have like 150 MP or 150 HP, don't really help anything.
True.
So I wanted to ask, I know this is still a fairly new randomizer, so this can apply to we'll call it vanilla. I'll respect the lore, though. Vanilla Final Fantasy 1 randomizer. What is the most ridiculous situation you've ever found yourself in?
That's a question.
I mean, if we're talking randomizers, like if we're talking like the NES randomizers, definitely where some situations have come up, because the NES randomization is something that we're looking at because it's really robust in terms of what it can do. But of course, on the flip side, it sometimes goes a little too far. But I've been in a situation where I've had to fight like endgame enemies at level 6 to finish seeds.
What?
Yeah. One of the big things that it does is, like, all those places where we've been encountering monsters in boxes, the NES randomizer will pull from a particular pool of encounters to put a random enemy there instead of the one that is normally there. And some of those fights can be pretty nasty if, you pull one of the way later encounters.
So I assume, now folks don't know this, while we were talking in the pre-show, not every seed is properly vetted, and when I say vetted, I mean sometimes we check seeds, or folks in the community check seeds to make sure it's not only completable in terms of bugs, but realistically completable, right? Because in case we get into a ridiculous situation like that, we don't want that happening on GDQ. This one was vetted today, so that is reassuring knowing that there isn't something too wild in the seed. But still, that's one person's opinion of wild, yeah?
Yes, and it's a person's opinion who tends to line up with mine fairly well.
That's always a good thing. When I ask folks, like, did the seed get better? I'd be like, is it by a friend or someone who knows your style well? Because that is a factor, too, certainly, that we don't talk about too often when it comes to having showcases of randomizers. You just never know what, it's one of those one person's trash is another person's treasure type of deal. Like, what could be rough to someone else could be, you know, excellent and very awesome to another. So it's like...
Yeah.
Definitions of what is good or what is necessary for a showcase run can differ.
Yeah. For instance, I know that Demarine is a fan of floor and entrance shuffle in the NES randomizer of this game.
Yeah, but I would never, ever, ever attempt to put that on a GDQ because it's just too random. It's a mess. There's just too much. There's like a lot of potential for things to go terribly, terribly wrong. Like on the flip, you know, when we've done for Enterprise stuff, like a lot of it has been, I won't say fairly straightforward, but it's been, you know, the idea is that they are flags that we've tested a lot because they're competitive tier flags. So you end up, so like the team has seen them hundreds of times already. So we kind of know what we're getting into.
I mean, y'all say messy, but I like to watch messy randomizers. We just have to get a bigger estimate, a longer estimate, you know?
Right, and that's one of the big things about randomizers and marathons is like, on the one hand, you could have a seed where someone goes and checks it, and it seems like it's super jetty. It's going to take, you know, 30 minutes faster than you know, what you would consider usual. And the person sits down and does it and gets themselves into an awkward corner where the veteran didn't even expect it. And, you know, vice versa.
So how would you all, and this is for everybody here, how would you describe the seed so far? I mean, again, I wish I knew a little bit more to define it, but what do you think so far about the seed?
It's pretty par for course. If I were to, you know, cast a magic wand and have a wish, I would like to be airborne by now. But I have a feeling that's coming up very soon. But it's been really nice.
I might consider wishing for armor, because we don't have any of that yet.
Yeah. All I've seen is like a single Terry copper armlet.
Yeah, and like, I've got the money. I'll be able to buy ruby armlets.
I was about to call them gold bracelets.
Fair. I'm used to calling them ruby rings. Hi, welcome to items that have had their name changed multiple times across the different versions of this video game. But for those of you who are following the newest version of Final Fantasy that's going to be coming out, the Strangers in Paradise, how about that new Astos art?
I don't know, because looks like Astos is disappearing to me.
There we go.
Aha!
Can't believe you dodged Earth Cave on me.
No rod. Watch Vampire have it, but like, I'm not a fan of two-shotting Earth Cave.
Yeah, well, we're in good shape at this point. Otherwise, for progress.
That's good. And speaking of which, too, we're about 9 minutes away from break time, so somewhere around there. It doesn't have to be right on the dot.
I mean, why don't we, if we're down to go a little early, getting the airship feels like a great time to take just a quick break.
Oh, is that right now, thereabouts?
Oh yeah, I'm sailing over there right now.
Awesome. Yeah, wherever you feel like is a good break in action for our wellness break. That is awesome.
Yeah. Let me just look around right quick, and we'll get that slightly glitched cutscene going.
Yeah, this is another one that I was like, okay, we gotta speed this up somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Except I really didn't speed this up too much.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's the glitch.
I like that a lot. That's really cool.
Yeah. So we are now airborne, which means we are entering the mid-game, in my opinion. So, Guy,
Yes.
all yours.
Why don't we count down to a pause, and then I'll read a couple things, and we'll take our wellness break.
Yeah, so we'll pause in 3, 2, 1, pause.
Thank you. All right, folks, before we go on break, a couple things. Again, please follow our runner and both of our commentators there. That is twitch.tv/LeggyStarscream, twitch.tv/Demarine2, twitch.tv/GameBoyF9. And remember, folks, that Random Number Generation GDQ Hotfix is brought to you by viewers like you. Your subs, gift subs, Amazon Prime subs, and bits cheered on the GDQ Twitch channel help support our weekly Hotfix content. Thank you so much for supporting our shows. Remember, AGDQ 2021 online will be January 9th through the 16th. Visit GamesDoneQuick.com for more information and detailed dates on the event. And with that, everyone, it is time for our wellness break. Be sure to stay hydrated, and we'll be right back with Random Number Generation. Welcome back, everyone, to Random Number Generation. This is the Final Fantasy I Pixel Remaster Randomizer. Leggy Starscream is our runner, and we are joined by Demarine and Game Boy F5. And as I'm saying this, I am literally just like bopping to this music. It is so good. So I did want to ask, and we talked about this during the break, Game Boy, do you have any shout outs to the community?
Yeah, well, shout outs to my co-commentators, right? Leggy, who has also contributed to this randomizer quite a bit. Sealy Faye has also contributed to this randomizer. I know Demarine's been helping out, giving this a good test. Strawberry's been helping out as well. We got quite a number of people, and I just minimized my Discord, which
Oh no.
yeah. Neon
I've got
Grace
the list
helped out as well, so
Yeah, Eat It Up 86 has also been in the back channels helping out a little bit with ideas. I also want to shout out somebody who's worked on the GBA version of the randomizer, Benabenu, who has done a lot of work for kind of concepting randomizers for the non-NES version of Final Fantasy, which is always really cool.
Any shout-outs for the vanilla randomizer as well? We've been referring to it a lot, so I want to make sure proper credit is given for that one as well, too.
Yeah.
Man, it's been a while.
So the big shout out for the NES randomizer is always Introber, who is, the original beating heart and soul of that game.
Aw.
But the NES randomizer has had so many different people helping out with various things between, the various race crews, the various administrators of the different discords, all of the developers who have contributed to it. It is an open source project, and they welcome any and all who are willing to write code for them. And I think that's really special, not something you see in a lot of other randomizers.
All right, well, with that being said, would we like to resume?
I am ready. Demi, do you want to count us back in again?
Yeah, let's restart this airship ride in 3, 2, 1, go.
So the other thing I wanted to discuss, while we are in I love this music, I cannot stress this enough. Would you all like to talk about your streams as well as what else you do in addition to this?
Yeah, I'll go last.
All right, fine. I'll go first. I stream nothing these days, but when I do eventually stream again, and I'm sure I will stream again at some point, I'll probably restream the Dragon Warrior randomizers again. I've been playing that community is doing something called the Bucket Brigade, which is a co-op tournament. I'm not in that tournament. I've just been playing their seed solo just for fun. So I'm hoping to start that up again in the near future. I do want to stream some of that randomizer that Demarine has alluded to in part 1. Final Fantasy IV for Bull Gauntlet. And that's actually what I've been doing most of the time, is programming new randomizers and going back to old randomizers and doing stuff like that. You will hear me in commentary with Dragon Warrior Randomizer as well as Free Enterprise. Those are both amazing communities, and I highly recommend that you join them. Yeah, I think that's my speech. Demarine?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been streaming a lot. 2021's been a little bumpy, new job, a lot of changes in life, but as I've been getting back to it, it's mostly been NES randomizers, so a little bit of FF1R, a little bit of Zelda 1 randomizer. I've done a couple Dragon Warrior seeds. I also admin for the Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise community. I am one of the lead commentators there. If ever you have any questions about doing commentary, I might not be the first person you think about, but if I'm solidly in your top 20, that would make me really happy. It's a thing that I absolutely love and adore, and have been doing it for like 3.5 years now.
Yeah, I guess I'm the most consistent streamer in this group. I'm usually streaming about this time on my channel. I try to stream, a couple of nights a week. I play, I've been working on the vanilla speedrun of FF1 Pixel Remaster right now, but I speedrun a lot of other JRPGs and other randomizers. Basically, any game where there's a timer and too much RNG, I'm probably into.
This is why you're a Pokemon speedrunner.
Yeah, I've been learning the various categories of Pokemon Sword, including a Espeon trade alt name that I routed myself. So yeah, it's always a cozy time. Come on by. I'll probably be streaming tomorrow. Also, I just want to shout out that haste is promotion locked and let you all talk about why that's horrible.
Haste is probably the most important spell in the game. So how Final Fantasy, basically how it resolves combat, is that there's a hit rate system. As you hit certain breakpoints in hit rate, your character's damage go up. Basically, it's cribbed from D&D, right? Your fighter hits 3 times in a turn. Your black belt hits 6 times in a turn. What fast does, or haste in this case, it's fast in the original, is it doubles that number. So whatever that number is at any given point in time, multiply it by 2. So with the Masamune, if your fighter can swing 5 times, now it can swing 10 times, which is great. That's a lot of swings.
Yeah, and most of the endgame bosses have a fair bit of magical resistance and elemental resistances on top of that. Also, heck yeah, my monk has been petrified. This is perfect.
Yeah, we're gonna see one of the weirdest interactions in Final Fantasy I Pixel Remaster ever in a moment.
Yeah. What were we talking about right before that happened?
You got the Crystal Eye.
Right.
What else were we talking about? I forget now. I'm sorry.
Right?
But there's a reason Leggy has moved her monk to the first position. It's because stoned characters accept hits from monsters. So because the monk is now at the first position. The monk, basically, the white crocodile will be, well, it's supposed to be swinging at the first position at the monk because it receives the most hits, but apparently the white croc had other plans.
Yeah, it's a 50-50 to target the first slot. But yeah, basically that's going to soak up about half of the physical hits, render them null and void. They will do 0 damage, which means that, well, half of all the physical hits I take will do nothing.
Yeah, and I was thinking that I think we were also talking about how the haste spell was promotion locked. It's one of those things where if you've ever seen Dragon Warrior Randomizer, Erdrick's armor isn't required, but it pretty much is required. I would say the same thing about this scenario here. The haste spell isn't required, but it's really nice to have.
Mm-hmm. And of course, the other side of petrification, right? That's what we were on. What is that petrified party members still gain experience points, which the vanilla Pixel Remaster speedrun uses to great effect by petrifying both the fighter and the monk, using them to soak hits and having 2 black mages sweep through most of the game with spells up until you get to Tiamat. It's pretty wild.
Oh, hey, Demarine, did you notice? Did you notice that battle? Did you notice?
I wasn't paying attention. What was I supposed to notice?
Well, we're gonna have to run into another one of those monsters. We're gonna have to run into another one of those monsters, Leggy.
I mean, that's not up to me. That's up to RNG.
There's plenty of encounters in this game. It's fine. I'm sure we'll run into something. I mean, deep-eyes are here.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are worth a ton of experience if you defeat them. But we are up here at the top of the sunken shrine with a defender's sword, which is really nice. But there is also a key item up here that Leggy's going to pick up right now.
Yeah, I think I am going to go around and open up the rest of the boxes up here. There's an item in particular I'm looking for. I'd say that's required.
Yeah, just a little bit.
There is one piece of gear at this point that I am really looking forward to, and it's the Giant's Gloves.
Yeah, the Giant's Gloves allows the caster to cast, or the user to cast Saber, which increases both the hit rate and the damage.
Yeah, normally it's a Black Mage only level 7 spell. Again, sort of mimicking D&D in a little way because it's a spell that exists in D&D. However, given our circumstance, if you can just have your fighter and or black belt wave it around in the air, they will quickly become very, very strong and then able to gain their buffs more quickly, basically becoming more and more powerful much faster than using items or using just temper. One of the other things that is in the Pixel Remaster that was in later versions, i.e. not the NES or WonderSwan versions, are stat boost potions, speed drinks, strength drinks, giant's tonics. Generally speaking, pretty necessary for killing chaos.
Ooh, there it is, Demarine, look!
Oh, perfect.
Perfect.
Cheer. I'm very pleased.
So, ever since, I believe, the PS1 version, they renamed the lobsters as sea scorpions, and we just, no, they're lobsters. They're lobsters. Yeah.
Like I
lobsters.
said, we're boomers. We go with the NES names. Dr. Uye wants to slap, but what can I say?
Yeah, there was a time when you know, I would report what the lobsters would have in Final Fantasy 1 NES randomizer, and so I would always report what the lobsters did.
Yeah. But yeah, we're making a quick work of our way through the Sea Shrine. It's gonna head on down and say hi to everyone's favorite friend, Kraken.
I'm not sure White Mage is, I don't know, reason. Kraken hits incredibly hard, basically, but Kraken's spell and ability lists are both basically garbage. Like, there's nothing frightening there. The only thing that's frightening is that Kraken's got 8 legs and does not miss leg day.
Yeah, this is about time to throw a quick heal.
So if you all were to add difficulty settings without it being too ridiculous, we covered that earlier, what would be like the next things you would add?
One of the things that we've been discussing in the back room would be to limit the number of consumables that your party can hold on to. Unfortunately, due to the way the game works, it will probably have to be a global cap, but reducing the number of ethers that the party has access to over the course of a particular dungeon dive would go a great way to increasing a certain amount of difficulty. Because right now, as you can see, my Black Mage is doing all of the work on these random encounters. They are not proving much of a challenge at all. And I'm mostly comfortable doing that right now just because I have a lot of spell charges. But if I was worried about getting low, I just bought 50 ethers back in town. But also randomizing enemy encounters, increasing their stats, and things like that are definitely high on our list, and it's going to take a little bit of design work to hit a balance that we like for how that process works. I don't know if anyone else has any other thoughts on hand.
Probably reduce the intelligence modifier on spells to a degree. Maybe make it more granular, but overall smaller. That would be a very complicated ask, though. You know, in terms of realistic asks, it's definitely enemy stats up. Script shuffle would be really important. Just to make sure that enemies had a lot of more dangerous abilities on hand at any given point in time.
Mm-hmm.
See, look at that White Mage getting by Kraken before the fight ends.
White Mage lived, thanks to the 2 casts of Protect. Or I guess Protera. But still.
It's fine. You can call it Fog 2. Everyone will understand.
Yeah, I was trying to come up with. I was trying to figure out what that what the ability was called in the NES. Oh,
And there's our first whammy.
Hey, we got a ribbon. It's fine.
that's true. Let's go into the fighter. Now, where do we go now? We have the adamant. Don't we have the adamant?
We've got a couple of key items back down south.
Mm-hmm.
I still haven't seen ruby rings, but I don't think I've been in every town's armor shop yet. I've been in every item shop, at least. Or at the very least, I found everything I want from every item shop.
Yeah, there's. I've been looking at chat. There are a lot of really good ideas in chat. Some of them. There are a lot of things you can do out of the box. There are some things that would require a lot more stuff. It's just going to be a lot more complex, if it's even possible. We don't know that for sure. So.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just gonna have to see.
Yeah, and of course, even if an idea is feasible, there's going to be a certain amount of prioritization that happens with every software system. So, well, that's a piece of garbage.
It is currently. Although, heck, you still had the mass immune, so yeah, okay.
Yep.
You win.
Do I speak Lethenish? I think I learned Lethenish. God, I'm trying to remember.
Yes. Yeah, I believe you did. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then I should go down to Lefane. I should have done that before.
Did you? I think you did. Yeah, I think you did.
Well, let's find out.
All right.
We'll see if we get the Lupa Lupa or if we get the key item. But we're doing it for you, chat.
There is no item for certain key flags in the game, and one of those flags is learning the language of Lefine so that you can get an item from down there.
Yeah. Because what box would you get?
You get the Duolingual.
Oh gosh.
Loop-a, loop-a, doopity-doo. I've got another puzzle for you. Oh, sorry.
And the good news is we can find out right away by talking to, like, the first NPC here.
Oh.
That's a quick reset.
Yeah, but that was not much of a time loss at all.
Oh yeah, no, it was worth doing it. Just like, been doing a lot of talking and thinking about, like, meta randomizer commentary. So that one just got a little bit washed away, as it has.
Woo! Damn, weren't paid for that earthquake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the earth elemental spells are just AoE instant kills. Earthquake is one of them. Fun fact, in the original NES version, the Sandworm script, because scripts had a required number of slots, i.e. that you need to have, if you're going to have abilities, that you need to fill an even number of ability slots. The Sandworm script is Earthquake, 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 Earthquake. There's 4 instances of it, which is a thing that the NES randomizer got around by removing 2 of them from the pool for randomization. It's probably a thing that we'll have to consider as well.
Yeah, we'll want to consider just like, we'll probably want to make our pool almost a bespoke pool.
I mean, in theory, you could randomize the pool completely, but again,
Yeah.
depending on, like, the idea is that these things sound great on paper, but, you know, it's varying levels of a lot of work that I don't have to do.
Yeah, a lot of work, but also just like, especially for, you know, a racing scene, you want to have an idea of how much cognitive load you want to put on the player with just what invariants are in play with your features. So for instance, if you have a feature that, you know, randomizes the scripts, but not just fully random, say there's a pool of spells and abilities that get distributed and they all have different stats on them to like add a certain amount of balance. That's something that a racer will have in the back of their head as they go, in order to perform at the highest level. And so finding that perfect line there of how much of that cognitive overhead you want to have your players go through is an open question for randomizer design.
Whew, those stone golems are definitely worth fighting.
Yeah, like for instance, the NES randomizer has a flag where it will procedurally generate spells for your mages to cast, but there's a particular list of like base spells that you have to pull from that it will pull from in order to design these spells. And for me, I always found that a daunting flag to consider playing with, because I'm like, well, I have to remember what all these different spell names do to be able to play at the level that I do with the vanilla flag set, the spell set.
Oh, this is gonna be nice.
Anyway, if we see Warbeck, we better get some hype emotes in chat.
Yeah. As with many Final Fantasy variations, Warmech is hard to find.
Mm-hmm. But not impossible.
And I can attest to that.
Also, since we returned from the break, can we get a really quick recap for folks just coming in as to what is exactly randomized in the standard flag set?
Yeah, so the big stuff that's randomized in the standard flag set is key items are shuffled around with a few invariants. Shops and have their inventory shuffled around. Treasure boxes have their contents shuffled around. And there are a few modifications to things that are more balance updates than randomization. I think is the high-level summary of things.
That is an enormous creature.
Yep, that's Tiamat.
Seen it before. It was on a Magic the Gathering card, though, and it didn't seem quite as big as this.
Yeah. You'll find that this game in particular wears its D&D comparisons directly on its sleeve. So Tiamat comes from Dungeons and Dragons. The Queen of the Dragons comes from actual folklore before D&D incorporated it into their game.
Wow, that was awesome.
But the Evil Eye we fought in the Ice Cave is actually a beholder from D&D, and actually the original sprite for it in the NES version was even more a beholder from D&D and got Squaresoft at the time sued.
So I have a question. Is there any, and again, this may be me not knowing about vanilla Final Fantasy 1. Why was one of your characters petrified for so long, or still is?
So that is a feature of the Pixel Remaster. A petrified character still counts as a target for enemy single target attacks, but will take no effects of those attacks. And by being in the first slot there, our petrified character eats 50% of all single target attacks coming in, because of the way that Final Fantasy 1 works. The top character has 50% to be targeted, then 25, and then 12.5 for the last two. So by leaving the monk petrified there out in front, they are taking no damage to everything they get targeted by, which is more or less a lot of things.
Yeah, whenever I see petrification, I don't know if you've ever played Final Fantasy X, but there's a very nasty thing that happens if a petrified character is hit even once. So that's why I was so curious about it.
Yeah, this is like the exact opposite of that.
Okay.
Where it's like super useful to have your frontline characters petrified because they will still take the melee hits and they will not take damage. You do not have to worry about healing them up. Plus, because I'm mostly relying on my spell casts to clear enemy encounters, it saves me the menuing time of telling that front character to defend. Because petrified characters have their battle action input skipped over in the menu.
That's so interesting to me, using a status ailment as a ways to make the game a little easier. That's so cool.
Yeah, and this is a particular quirk of the Pixel Remaster. Previous versions of Final Fantasy I treated petrified characters almost identically to dead characters outside of the spells and items used to recover them.
So now that Leggy was able to promote with that rat tail that she got picking up when she woke up the prince, she now has that haste spell that's gonna make the final battles a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna do some quick shopping, see if I can't find the 2 best pieces of shop armor real quick.
Yeah, which will be really nice.
Yeah. Actually. We'll get that quick upgrade for the fighter. You know what? A quick stack of those. Sell off the excess hats so that when I optimize the fighter's equipment, the ribbon doesn't get replaced with a helmet.
Yeah, the ribbon only provides 1 defense, but yeah, everything else is good, good, good.
Mm-hmm. Nothing of note.
Where is that armor hiding?
Yeah. I'll have to go back to Corneria anyway, and I'm pretty sure I saw one of the 2 pieces in here.
Wait, did you say Corneria?
Yeah.
All I could think of is Star Fox.
Yep. I choose to believe that in 2,000 years after this game takes place, this is where Star Fox happens.
That is acceptable.
It is personal lore that I hold on to.
Yeah, so one of the things we need to do is if you get a nothing, there should not be a glorious fanfare. There should be something else or something like that.
Yeah, or it shouldn't be like truly nothing and give you like some kind of extra item for your troubles.
I don't know. My vote is the you lose the bonus. You lose the Donkey Kong Country bonus game. I think that's a good lose tune there.
Fair. Wait. Am I missing something? Oh, right.
You've left Earth Cave behind, just sitting there,
Yep.
waiting for you. Leggy, it's waiting for you. It's telling you to come inside and fight all of its undead monsters.
It is finally time. Because I think I'm also 1 elemental power short.
You are 1 elemental power short, which is probably sitting on Lich behind the rod at Vampire.
Yup.
Darren sounds so sure, and now I want to see it happen as a result of that.
Not sure I had everyone attack when they were set to flee before. Game's weird.
It's because you didn't go to Earth Cave in time. I think that's what Demarine's thinking right now.
I knew that was gonna come up again at some point.
I'm just glad we're here.
I was hoping to fade at this point, just completely ignore Earth Cave.
Wow, lady, you wouldn't do that for Demery?
I mean, Leggy's a speedrunner. If she could skip something, she's skipping it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
She'll sail all the way up to Ordeals with the boat rather than waiting for the airship, but she won't come down here and fight Lich.
Correct.
So to recap from earlier, I believe Demarine, I believe you said you would come here early, typically, and kind of sink or swim in this area.
Yeah, it's a bad habit. It's not always the right call, but it's the most fun call for me.
But that's what randomizers are about. It's about making the most fun out of something.
What are we at on the clock, by the way?
Oh, you want to know how far we are into the run?
Yeah. What's the timer at?
I'm showing a 124 right now.
Okay.
Again, it's not mercy kill, so you're good. I mean...
No. I'm not worried about Mercy. I'm not worried about Mercy getting Mercy killed. I'm worried about the other direction.
Oh, you think this is going to be a jet seed?
Well, so when I initially gave the estimate, there was actually a bug in the software used to modify the Pixel Remaster games. You'll notice that when I press the auto battle button, the animations go by very quickly. Specifically, 1.5 times faster than they normally do.
Oh, wow.
When I was doing my practice runs, that bug was not fixed. It was only fixed last night.
Wait, seriously?
Yup. Well, it only got incorporated into the randomizer last night.
Oh, okay. So this is the Lich now that y'all been talking about?
Nope, that's vampire.
Oh,
Wait,
okay.
what vampire?
I was gonna say, I
Yeah.
blinked and it died, so I don't know what that was.
Yeah, no, that is the vampire.
Oh.
Come here first.
Clearly.
Wow.
I love this game. I love Final Fantasy 1.
Do you?
Oh yeah. Why do you think I keep playing different versions of it?
Every time Leggy stops by to say hi, I'm like, all right, what were you playing? And then I see Final Fantasy, I'm like, of course, yes. Everything is right in the world. This makes sense.
Yeah, like my history with Final Fantasy is actually really interesting because I grew up with the NES version. I had the GBA version as a kid. And so I grew up playing those two versions of this game. Then when I started streaming, the first thing I streamed was the Zelda 1 randomizer.
Oh, yes.
A classic. Everyone in this voice call is a huge fan.
Yes.
But the second game I started streaming was the NES randomizer for Final Fantasy 1. That got me to learn the Final Fantasy 1 Game Boy Advance speedrun, which basically meant that I was a speedrunner now. I've had at various times a top 5 time for the FF1 GBA speedrun. And eventually I need to work on clawing back up that leaderboard.
So from what I can understand, because that bug's fixed, the next time we do this, you're gonna do 2 seeds, right?
Or something. But yeah, no. I was initially worried that, oh gosh, I'm gonna pull a 230 just from, you know, running around. Like, I've been playing really good. I've been playing, and like the seeds haven't been that bad, but I just keep getting these 215s. And with the speed up, it's like, I was not ready for how much time I'm saving compared to without it.
Yeah, so Demery mentioning the Earth Cave and us going pretty quick on time here. It brings me to two thoughts. Number one, we once had a Chaos Rush tournament where the seeds would finish in 20 minutes because you could just go directly to Chaos and beat Chaos. And the Earth Cave was one of the best places to go because you could get because you would run into very high experience battles, and so everybody just went to the Earth Cave. It was like the one time the Earth Cave was the best play. And
Yeah.
What was the second thing? I forget what the second thing was. I'll get back to you on that one. Go ahead, Leggy.
Yeah. Honestly, you know, with the amount of time left on the clock, I might do a grand circle tour of some of the changes from previous versions of Final Fantasy I that Pixel Remaster implemented that might not be readily apparent to folks.
That's
With your
actually what
permission, of course, Sky.
Sorry, say that again?
Given that we're probably gonna have a little extra time, I might dilly-dally a little bit and show off some of the changes they made for Pixel Remaster in particular.
Oh, please do. Feel free to dilly-dally away. Especially if you finish Underestimate. Like, we got time.
I remember the other thing that we have not implemented Chaos Rush yet, so no, that was one thing we
Yeah.
could not do.
Yeah, it would be cool. Honestly, it might not even be that difficult. You know, just add the necessary items for Go mode into your inventory from the start.
So is this the final area then?
No, this is actually the second dungeon that you normally dive.
Yeah, this is normally fairly early in vanilla gameplay.
Yeah.
You know, it's actually a big step up in difficulty as well. Undead enemies have paralysis touch. Paralysis is awful in this game, by the way. The only ways to remove it are you can theoretically cast Kiraj to remove it, or if you don't have that spell, you have a 25% chance every turn to remove it, but that's it.
And then it might just get reapplied again. Also, if you remember Marsh Cave, the Pisco Demons, they're just a random encounter now. Which is one of the things I always really liked about FF1, is seeing, you know, things like the Vampire and the Pisco Demons come back as random encounters as opposed to boss battles.
So, side note, you may have some of you may have noticed that the slab that the Earth Rod was used on disappeared instantly. That was one of the speed ups that I did. It's like we don't need to watch for the flash and the removal and all that. Just get rid of it. Move on. Let's go.
And also getting rid of flashing is always good in video games. Accessibility good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the song of this cave fits with the mood. You're like in this like really kind of dark, dreary cave, but then it's like all like butterflies, like happy music. It's just really funny.
Yeah, Earth Cave is definitely an interesting place. Anyway, here is Lich. In true Final Fantasy Randomizer tradition, he is going to be the last fiend of the elements we take down. Lich is a boss fight that is the bane of basically every speedrunner in this game, but most Randomizer players regard as a joke.
We're gonna embarrass him. Normally when you get here, you don't have enough health to like survive his spells, and it's really bad, and like we're just going to embarrass him.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Not even a scratch.
Yeah, which I often say in various chats when I see a fight like that. Well, that was a very competitive fight, let me tell you.
If I ever play this casually, the not randomizer version, I have to remember that is not as advertised, so to speak.
Correct. In every single Final Fantasy randomizer, every single Final Fantasy 1 speedrun I know of, Lich is a major reset point. But first Grand Circle Tour thing, if you're familiar with older versions of FF1, you may have heard of the Hall of Giants right over here, where you normally have a bunch of tiles where every single step you get an encounter. They're just 2 guys now.
It is.
That's just a little guy.
So
it's his
sad.
birthday.
It's so good.
I do want to go turn in the nitro powder real quick. We're gonna hop in and do that.
TNT. It's the TNT.
It's dynamite. I should not continue before we get DMCA'd.
Yeah, right. And
All
that
right,
is
there's
the
go mode.
last.
You said
Let's open
that's go mode?
Yep.
Nice.
We got an elixir too, which is nice.
We have obtained the power of all 4 crystals and gotten an elixir, which will probably help us in the last fight.
Yeah. But yeah, the other big tragedy, in my opinion, compared to the vanilla game is, or previous iterations, is from Provoca, you can walk all the way along down here, all the way up to here, and in prior games, the encounters up on these 2 tiles were pulled from up above. In Pixel Remaster, they went in and took the grid of encounters and extended it up just enough to cover the Peninsula of Power. And my heart is still broken.
It's not even that they adjusted the whole grid, by the way. They literally just cut out a section of it for those 4 squares of land.
Yeah, they also, to be fair, they also did that in a number of other places, but that one is the most egregious in my opinion.
And there is the other awesome piece of armor, the Protect Ring, and here you have ribbons. Yeah, the Protect Ring, it prevents death, although that doesn't matter because you have a ribbon out anyway, but more importantly, it gives you 8 defense.
But yeah, this game, compared to prior versions of Final Fantasy, definitely has some differences that make it a unique experience unto itself in ways that, honestly, I think work for it. Anyway, here we are. Those of you keeping score at home might recognize this as, hey, isn't that the place you went at the very start of the game where that weird guy told you he'd knock you all down?
And then failed miserably at it.
Yeah, because we blasted him with lightning. Way more lightning than you do in the vanilla run.
Wow, this arrangement, again, I can't get over the music. It's so good.
Yeah.
Just you wait for this too.
We're just gonna sit here for a minute.
hadn't noticed, I didn't talk about what my favorite track is from the game. So enjoy.
Yeah, how's that for a final dungeon theme?
I love it. Yeah, my shows, if you hear everybody just stop talking, just assume that there is just a really good musical track playing, and we allow time to appreciate that.
Yeah, there is one other flag that didn't come up earlier, which is when they were making these more modern versions of FF1, they realized that they needed to update the HP of the final boss gauntlet, because in the NES version, Chaos only has 2,000 hit points. And is a super huge challenge. But with the way that stats get rebalanced and stuff, you know, getting this fighter to hit for 2 to 3k is not that difficult. So in GBA, PSP, and the vanilla version of this, Chaos has 20,000 hit points. That's a lot, and it kind of shoehorns you into doing one or two particular strats. This is something we found while developing HMS Jane, the FF1 GBA randomizer. Was that Chaos, with his massive amount of all stats and just the disgusting set of abilities he has equipped, meant that you're just shoehorned into particular strategies. So we've actually cut his HP into half. Otherwise, I would 100% be using my monk right now.
Yeah, the Pixel Remaster speedrun is fairly consistent throughout until you get to Chaos, which has been lovingly called the Chaos slot machine, because sometimes you win and most of the time you lose.
Yep.
You put your PB in and you get nothing back. It's great.
Trade offer. I receive nothing. You receive my 15 minutes of golds.
Yeah, it's not good times.
But yeah, we are now in the basement onto the first elemental floor. And we're going to start seeing some familiar faces soon.
Ooh, I wonder what those are.
I'm hoping for lobsters.
Right?
I mean, we'll definitely be seeing some of those.
I mean, you might not.
Yeah, the other thing that I want to retune in this game, that hasn't come up yet, is in later Final Fantasies, there's the concept of a boss bit, where bosses just can completely blank certain spells, and, you know, boss enemies will have this boss bit set on them by default. In Pixel Remaster, and in no previous versions of Final Fantasy I, these exist. And in particular, they blank instant death spells. Which is unfortunate, because if you're familiar with the previous games, you might try casting, you know, Break or Brack on Tiamat. You might try casting Quake on Lich, only to find out that they just don't work. And so reintroducing those as viable strategies is definitely something I want to do.
Yeah, the nice thing about randomized spells, of course, is that normally in the NES version, this is the first spell you cast, Flare. Interestingly enough, in some of the older versions of the NES speedrun, it's the other speedrun where you petrify characters, but mostly use it to petrify your Black Mage so they don't die.
So just like in the NES version, if you do a Curaja on somebody, that removes the paralyzation or any other status for that matter. So
Luckily, we have a life too. But yeah, with the change away from the encounter tiles, you'll now see the fiends in these orbs. Specifically always over the staircases as opposed to the middle of the hallways where Kraken and Tiamat were in prior versions, which is a change I don't understand why it's been made. I don't have the ribbon equipped anymore. Always quick save.
Yeah, one of the other things that's on my wish list is disabling manual quick saving. If we have to deal with getting a save every floor, I mean, that's more than nice enough, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, if the game's gonna autosave for you, you don't really need to worry about anything else. And, like, I'm okay with the autosave every floor. I think that leads to an interesting space that you don't see in other FF1s.
Wait, Marilyn knows death?
Yeah, it's deep in her list.
So, do you keep the character petrified for the rest of the game? I noticed it's been that way since about halfway, I want to say.
Yep. In the vanilla run of this game, it's the fighter and the monk would have their position swapped. However, with the Samune sword that the fighter has equipped, and the fact that we don't need to hit nearly as much damage as we do in the vanilla version for Chaos, I think this is probably the better call because the fighter will be taking way less damage from these just random fights. But yeah, we will not be unpetrifying that monk.
Like, if a character gets hit on Kraken, it's likely that they die. Even the fighter at 620 hit points probably survives, but not well.
Yeah. I will be swapping the fighter and the Black Mage's positions in the party. Just because that middle slot has that 25% chance to be hit. Also, can we just take a moment and appreciate the maps they give for the different areas? Like, look how gorgeous that is.
It's detailed.
Yeah, and they have that for literally every screen in this game.
Also, that filtering effect is really neat.
Yeah.
And you can extend that argument to Final Fantasies 2 through 6 as well.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, the tiles where I'm running back and forth is about where Kraken usually rears his ugly bug in any non-pixel remaster version of FF1.
I remember when you were doing a practice and I was watching you practice and you started running down this hallway and I actually started like going, oh god, you're gonna run into Kraken. Oh right, Kraken is on the stairs.
Yeah. Let's go. The only spell that matters from the Black Mage is getting that haste off. Everything else is secondary. Where is it? There it is.
In its vanilla spot.
Yeah, but you'll notice how the monk has been targeted twice and has taken 0 damage. That is the power of Pixel Remaster Petrification. And now we're going to set up some defensive buffs like it's NES.
So, what is the name of that spell that makes them all look like outlines? I really love the artistic style on that.
Yeah, so it's Invis, or I think it's Invisera is like the full name of it, but it's basically a spell that turns you invisible.
Yeah, it increases your evasion percentage.
Yeah.
Also, even though it doesn't look like it, because there's a very clear status effect, they do stack.
Mm-hmm.
You're convincing me more and more I gotta try some of these Pixel remasters. These look like a ton of fun, especially if I haven't played the vanilla versions. This seems like an excellent way to learn the games.
Yeah. Like, most of the, commentary I've leveled at it, comes from being, frankly, overly familiar with the original versions of these games. To people who, haven't played any of these particular games to death, I would highly recommend these as, like, ways to play these games for the first time.
There
Yeah,
were some folks
totally.
in oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, I totally agree. I mean, I really love the Pixel remasters, like, all of them one way or another, right? So, yeah, that's what I was going to say.
No, there were some folks saying that you do have to try the NES version at some point because that has its own charm as well.
Yes, though, personally, I would say that just the NES version on its own is a little unpolished, especially by a lot of modern game design standards. So there are a few different things out there that provide like speed hacks for it that I would highly, highly recommend a first-time player of Final Fantasy I pick up. I don't have like all of the different ones off the top of my head that I would recommend, but like just playing bog standard original FF1 NES is occasionally a painful experience.
Yeah, a lot of the key spells, like Temper, for example. Part of why the game is hard is because Temper's broken, it does nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, the original does have certain charms, but definitely play, like honestly, if you want to play the quote-unquote the original, just play the GBA version. I think it ends up just being a much better experience overall.
Yeah. And like, this game does do a decent job of straddling the line between the NES version and the GBA version. Like, it really does a lot to be sort of the best of both.
Also, we're about to see the last change in the Pixel remaster as opposed to the NES version. Actually, we're not going to see it, it looks like. You can get random encounters on this floor.
Yeah. And if you are a large player of, other versions of this game, that throws me every single time.
Yeah, big same.
Anyway, I think it's time to kill Chaos.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Let's go.
So hey, it's Garland. He's back.
In time warping form.
So in the GBA and PSP version, those four blocks that make the 3x3 square there are actually statues of the different elemental fiends, which I always thought was neat, and it is kind of, do wish they kept that in. Oh no.
This is why you have the petrified black belt in front, is because that's the scary stuff right there. Chaos with haste can, will, and unfortunately may almost certainly start one-shotting you.
Yeah, even the fighter can get one shot here.
Yeah, see, already attacked the brick though, so we're fine with that.
Yep. And now we just gotta stack the buffs.
Yeah, see, Chaos can cast Kiraja anytime as well. Heals for 10,000, even if it's the maximum.
I will take that.
Yeah, no, we're getting some free buffing time, but yo, Chaos, are you busy? Let us know when you're done playing White Mage.
Chaos is done playing White Mage.
Goodbye, Black Mage.
Wow. Ouch.
Punched into the stratosphere, gone forever. Also, what speed drinks do is that they increase your hit rate. I think fighter caps out at 16, though. You're not going to get any more benefit from speed drinks.
Yeah, that's the other nice thing about them.
Oh, jeez.
Yep. Welcome to Chaos.
Just got erased from 827.
Beautiful. I'm so glad we got to show that particular bit of nastiness.
Erased, just obliterated.
Is it like Forbidden Memories in the sense of sometimes the game's just gonna win and there's not much you can do about it?
Correct.
Yeah, the Chaos fight is really good for that. Even with a White Mage, even with all the safeties that we have, sometimes Chaos will just decide to cast haste and then just start removing party members from the fight.
Like, even if you have the Giant's Tonics going and are able to get like party members up to 999 HP, that still means if Chaos outturns you on the next go round, your party member is down to, basically nothing.
Yeah, so this time it's going to be a little bit safer. It's going to be let's bump the hit points of this party a lot.
Yeah. I was hoping to get it to be a little cheeky, but Chaos said no.
Yeah, Chaos does not respect cheekiness.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the GBA quote unquote easier route, the White Mage route strategy normally, which is you have a White Mage who's casting Yalaga basically every turn.
At least Tsunami is a much faster animation when auto battle's on.
It really is.
Okay. We definitely need to get a few more buffs on that fighter.
Yeah, I think it's time to maybe play it a little unsafe.
Yeah.
Well, that was a bit fortunate. Thanks to those Giants Tonics.
Yep, that's why we have them.
and the lack of early haste.
Yeah.
The real nuisance with Giant Tonics is if you die, you lose all your buffs from items. So,
Yeah, and the way Chaos was hitting, they were sending those warriors off to Final Fantasy V and into the void. My goodness.
Right? Ah, the haste
we
is coming
go.
out.
time to maybe cast some defensive buffs with the White Mage. You're like,
I love it. Go for broke.
Defensive buffs can't help you against Nuke.
Yeah, it's fair. Getting flared is bad.
Yeah, the only thing that helps us here is that healing.
White mage is toast.
Yep.
Literally.
Yeah. Man, it's time to throw the elixir, I think.
Now,
Or, nah, I guess we're good.
time.
Time about 1:58:40, give or take a few seconds.
All right, I'll take that.
Everybody get your GGs out for Leggy. Leggy, that was amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really, really happy that we got the opportunity to show off this just culmination of months of hard work. Honestly, I'd say years of hard work, because a lot of the design decisions that went into this were the results of the work that Strawberry, Sealy Faye, Demi, and I did in designing the FF1 GBA randomizer.
I had a quick question here. I believe if you would still like to show some things off in the game, we could put a 10-minute timer up to showcase a few different things about the Final Fantasy I Pixel Remaster, if you would like to.
Yeah, unfortunately, when we're in the credits, there is one way to restart the game, and since I'm on Windows, it's called Alt F4.
Oh, okay.
So game feed will go away for a hot second, but it'll be back.
Yes, so do you all have some more shout-outs that you would like to do? Perhaps some that we had after the break again. I want to make sure folks know what's up with this remaster and who we can thank for the randomized version of it.
Yeah, Debbie, I don't think you got an opportunity to give shout-outs last time either, so you should go first.
I mean, I honestly don't have a ton. You know, obviously I'm good friends or more with many of the administrators and developers for this randomizer, which is, you know, pretty fantastic. Part of why I'm gonna be sad for a second. To heck with this. Part of why lobsters are lobsters is because of my late fiance who passed away earlier this year. So obviously, you know, she'll be with us forever, and that's super important, and that makes me happy.
All said.
Yeah.
So, again, feel free to repeat shout-outs that y'all have as well, too, while we're waiting for this to reboot.
Are we not back?
I am not seeing it yet. Maybe that's because...
Oh, right.
Yeah,
I forgot to redo the stream in Discord.
Thank
There
you.
we go.
I'm like, I don't see anything.
Yeah.
All right, yes, we are back again. We're going to start on 10 minutes here, so feel free to count us down and show off what you want.
Yeah, so I'm just teleporting my way out because the last quick save I had was right in front of Chaos, and I never bought exit. But yeah, let's go in 3, 2, 1. Let's jam. So the first thing that I want to shout out in this game is my personal favorite bit of music, which we don't get to hear very much of because I'm not in here long enough to listen. But yeah, no, like, it's such a good string section. And for, you know, just like the shop theme, they didn't have to make it as good as it was, but they did.
I'd guess I have a very brief question about programming this, because obviously I'm not one of the coders, but in the background, can you change the text in character text boxes?
I believe so.
Because I know it's probably low priority, but hey.
But we have changed the dialogue boxes that you get when you get the key item, so it should definitely be doable. What are you thinking?
You know, if we were to do some of the shoutouts instead of doing them in the credits, also, you know, putting them on certain people you can talk to as well.
Classic interaction all the way through to here. You're an adventurer. Of course you've got mud just all over your face and armor. One of the quirks we have going on right now is this treasury back here, which is wide open right now. But if you have the Mystic Key, but you haven't woken up the Elf Prince over here yet, this door won't open, because the flag to set this door as passable is tied to waking up the prince. Because normally he gives you the key that lets you open up the door. So that's on our list of things to fix.
Weird door issues have been a thing since the vanilla game, where there's a door in the Temple of Fiends all the way near the bottom after you play the loot that requires the key to open. You always have the key in the vanilla game 100% of the time because you've done everything, but in Randomizer you could theoretically not have it at that point.
Mm-hmm. As I mentioned earlier, the sage in this town won't give you the canoe until you have the earth crystal in hand. Or lit up, I guess.
And you don't get the airship until you get the Levistone. It's just not given to you. And part of that is the syscall business that I mentioned back in part one. It's like a special call that the programmers made that does some stuff inside a code that won't just give you the airship for free, so to speak.
Yeah. Trying to think of what other things are worth talking about here. Like, we could just go jam out to Matoya's theme for a little bit.
I mean, I'm jamming out right now to this, honestly.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is another one of my favorite bits of music in just all of its incarnations.
Wow, look at that mini-map. It's so, not a lot there.
Oops, wrong button. Hey, you ever just completely remap in your head what buttons you're pressing? Oh, yeah. Yeah, all in all, this has been a really fun project to work on developing. Again, you know, I've always been super passionate about Final Fantasy I, and to build something as refined as this is already, with plenty of work for future expansions. Like, I would call this a preview build rather than like a first official build, has just been incredible. It also helps that every single person we have on the development team is amazing.
Also, it's a voluntary project. It is an open source project, so, you know, if you want to poke your head in and say hi, you know.
Yeah. We can chat. The other thing that makes me really happy about this, that this is me going to get on my high horse for a little bit. The key item randomization in this uses a constraint solver rather than just the sort of brute force guess and check that you see in a lot of other randomization programs. And I'm of the opinion that more randomizers should use constraint solvers to do key item randomization, because then you don't run into issues where you have to retry 50,000 times to get a valid seed.
Or it could be La Milana and you can go into the millions.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, to extend your point, Leggy, I was, what was I gonna say? I got distracted. Oh yeah, I started doing like a key item rando for this randomizer, and after a little bit, I was like, okay, Leggy, you win. We're gonna do it your way.
It helps that, you know, for the most part, we already had the mature key item randomization system from the GBA version. The logic was just ported over wholesale.
Anything else you wanted to cover within this game, Leggy?
You know, if you're interested in checking it out, we have a public release version now. We have a Discord where, you know, we're hanging out and chatting about it and working on it. So please, you know, hang out, say hi, chat with us. I'm always down to hearing new ideas and new ways that we can make this a super, super interesting game. I'm also interested in hearing about folks' ideas for working on other Pixel Remaster games as well.
All right, any last minute shout outs before we go to aimbot?
Shout outs to both my wonderful co-commentators. Shout outs to Seely Faye, a wonderful friend and a invaluable contributor who we spent a number of nights over the past few weeks working on various features to get this ready.
Well, we very much appreciate y'all's hard work. So I have done exclamation point RNG here. One last time, please be sure, y'all, give each and every one of the folks here involved a follow, please. Again, that is twitch.tv/LeggyStarscream, twitch.tv/Demarine2, and twitch.tv/GameBoyF9. I want to thank everybody for being here and everybody who worked very hard behind the scenes to make this edition of Random Number Generation so awesome. I'm hoping that we have more of these remasters on in the future. Demarine, I would love to have you on in the future as well. We had talked, so that will definitely be a thing. So folks, that will do it for Random Number Generation. However, a few announcements here. Before we go to aimbot, our GDQ Hotfix programming is not over this evening, so y'all please stay tuned. After this, we will have aimbot with Time Shift and Time Splitters 2 coming right up. And tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, I am back here for Mercy Kill, followed by Never Before Seen. Again, that is starting at 7 p.m. Eastern tomorrow on GDQ Hotfix. One last announcement, Random Number Generation will not be back until after a GDQ 2022. But I'm going to be helping out on a one-of special on December 29th. I don't want to steal Amber's thunder on this project, but you all will want to keep an eye on the GDQ Twitter for more details. Again, that is at GamesDoneQuick on Twitter. And with that being said, I'm Skybilz for GDQ Hotfix. Coming right up is aimbot.